I'm going to show you how to write a VOSOT that will capture your viewer's attention and help you land an on-air job. I'm starting right now. So I saw this VOSOT on TV that I'm going to improve with better writing and reporting. Here's both versions of the story. You can pause the video to review the scripts for context. The next problem with the original is it mentions a correctional facility. But correctional facility takes 8 syllables to say. I conveyed the same concept in 1 syllable, jail. Don't waste your audience's time with 7 extraneous syllables. Remember, we're trying to pack the maximum amount of information into the fewest words possible so that every word and syllable of our story bursts with imagery as we shepherd the viewer along this information-dense journey. Also, the only people who say correctional facility are cops. The rest of us call it jail. And many of us have a visceral reaction specifically to the word jail because we don't want to go to jail. But we haven't thought to ourselves, I don't want to go to correctional facility. By using cop talk, you're squandering the opportunity to bring the viewer into the story intellectually and emotionally through that visceral reaction specifically to the word jail. I'm going to make an entire video about why and how you should avoid cop talk in your scripts. If you don't want to miss that video, make sure to subscribe. The next sentence of the original explains what the no bail law is. But the phrase made the rule is too wordy. Condense your verbs into 1 word. The Judicial Council ruled, not made the rule. Also, the original explains that the no bail law only applies to low-level felonies. Well, what does that mean? Our viewers don't know what a low-level felony is. It's not good enough for us to repurpose some term we saw in a press release or that some public official said. We've got to be specific. We've got to explain the news in a way that our viewers are going to easily understand. In this case, low-level felonies refers to non-violent felonies. So for clarity, I added the term non-violent felonies to my story. Here's another sentence that's too wordy. Examine their list of inmates in relation to their risk assessment, and they believe they do not need to reduce their numbers any more than they already have. Any more than they already have is wimpy because those 5 words are devoid of power nouns and power verbs. Power nouns and verbs are the basis of news writing. I made an entire video about power verbs and I'll link to it at the end of this video. Also, it's particularly important to use power nouns and verbs at the end of your sentences because you need to push the viewer across that divide into the next thought and sentence. If your writing fizzles out at the end of your previous sentence, then the viewer is going to disengage and get bored, and she's not going to follow you into that next thought and sentence. The earlier part of this sentence is also wordy. Examine their list of inmates in relation to their risk assessment, and they believe they do not need to reduce their numbers. Whoa, that is a 22-word mouthful. I expressed the same concept in 7 words. He already released low-risk pre-trial inmates. Condense, condense, condense. Because I've condensed, I have time to explain a crucial aspect of this story that the original excludes. The state is trying to limit the spread of the coronavirus by reducing jail overcrowding. This story chronicles competing priorities. On the one hand, we want to keep inmates in jail who, if we were to release them, might commit new crimes. On the other hand, we want to release as many inmates as possible in order to reduce jail overcrowding and contain the virus. The original never explains that. It never explains why the state passed the no bail law in the first place. And the original only vaguely alludes to the sheriff's argument that the state is threatening public safety in this sentence. Sheriff Grady believes the extra precautions being taken are above and beyond what's necessary. Problem number 1 is extra precautions being taken. The dreaded passive voice. 95% of the time, you should use the active voice instead of the passive voice. The active voice conveys action. The passive voice dilutes the intensity of that action. Problem number 2 is actions are above and beyond what's necessary. Avoid anchoring thoughts or sentences with the verb to be, because to be is the only verb in English that does not describe action. It describes a state of being, the way things are. But our viewers watch our news programs because they want to know what's happening. They want to find out how the dynamic world changed while they were at work. So don't let them down by anchoring thoughts or sentences with the verb to be. If I want to keep the structure of the original while solving the problems of both the passive voice and the verb to be, I would write, Sheriff Grady argues the state is mandating unnecessarily strict COVID safety precautions. That's just an example. Try to devise your own rewrite of this phrase using the active voice and power verbs instead of the passive voice and the verb to be. Let's look at the SOT that appears in the original. We put mitigating factors in place like I've explained before that prevent COVID from coming into our facility. What are those mitigating factors? What safety precautions is the sheriff taking? A news story should not leave the viewer hanging asking a major unanswered question. So I did extra research and then I turned my VOSOT into a VOSOT VO by tacking on details of how the sheriff is limiting the spread of the virus. So, I transformed a wimpy story into a power story by writing a short, specific, and easy to understand lead that explained exactly what the story's about and why people should care. I explained the competing priorities generating the conflict. I created visceral imagery by substituting normal English for cop talk and power verbs for multi-word verbs and the verb to be. I used the active voice instead of the passive voice. I backfilled my sentences so the viewer stayed engaged into the next thought. And I did extra research to avoid leaving the viewer hanging. In the comments below, show me examples of how you use those same techniques to write your own power news stories. And to continue receiving tips on how to captivate your audience, dazzle news directors, and turbocharge your broadcast journalism career, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.